Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Chat Time with Ro podcast. I'm your host, Rochelle J Chong. In this episode, I will be discussing how mentors, coaches, and people managers can support their teams to defeat imposter syndrome. Some of these are based on my experience with great people managers and mentors in my career journey, as well as just general observations of leaders that I admire. Thanks for joining to explore this topic together. Let's dive in. In our first episode, we touched on what exactly is imposter syndrome and how that shows up differently for people in terms of symptoms. Feel free to pause to give that a listen first if this is your first time here. But as a bonus, here's the Cliff Notes version. Imposter syndrome is a term used to describe an internal experience of feeling like a fraud, even when there is evidence to the contrary. It can manifest itself in self-doubt, negative thinking, including thoughts that you've only achieved your success due to luck or by fooling others. Imposter syndrome is a pervasive issue and it's way more common than you think. It's a widely experienced phenomenon that can affect people from all walks of life, regardless of age, gender, educational level, experience, and even notable accomplishments. It can have detrimental effect on individuals' confidence, mental and emotional well-being, as well as your ability to succeed in different areas such as work, relationships, and even personal goals. In my experience, and from reading various readings, imposter syndrome can be particularly an isolating experience because it contributes to a feeling of you're the only person experiencing this, you're alone, you're disconnected from others. For example, in my case, I've been on teams feeling like I'm the only one who doesn't belong and have nothing of value to contribute, which was actually very far from the reality. Additionally, feeling like an imposter, especially related to the isolating feeling, can often lead to a fear of failure and a reluctance to ask for help from others due to the fear that your true identity, air quotes here, will be found out. This in turn can lead to not only negative impacts on the person's self-esteem, but your mental health and even like your professional reputation, but it also contributes to your team's overall productivity, cohesion, and collective success, because then there's a lack of trust, someone's watching over their shoulder, they're not bringing their voice to the table, all of that. Additionally, it also leaves the individual feeling overwhelmed or discouraged from taking risks, and therefore they don't put their hands up for new opportunities for growth, nor are they willing to take any risks on themselves or for the team. As a result, and that's where today's topic comes in, mentors, coaches, and people managers play an integral role in helping support their teams, because you can help them combat imposter syndrome. Through providing emotional guidance, practical advice, and constructive feedback on how to reframe negative thoughts, leaders can help their team members gain the confidence and clarity needed to confront their doubts and to be more successful, therefore strengthening the team overall. Let's dive in more detail. Firstly, in terms of strategies is to acknowledge the feelings and normalize them. It is so important to recognize that feelings of imposter syndrome are completely normal and not something to feel ashamed about. From experience, it's hard to get there by yourself. It is important for mentors or coaches or people managers or anyone who cares about their team to provide that kind of safe space for those affected to express their feelings without fear of judgment or criticism or feeling it's going to hold them back from an opportunity. Helping them acknowledge these feelings helps individuals understand that they're not alone in their struggles and that there are solutions available to them. In my experience, this can be done through simple, tangible ways such as open conversations, encouraging feedback, active listening, just being there, and providing personal examples of how others have dealt with similar issues. Even if you don't want to admit that you as a people manager have dealt with imposter syndrome, it helps if you bring something personal into the conversation where, for instance, if someone feels overwhelmed by imposter syndrome at work or on a project, you could share stories from other professionals or books you've read of people who have been able to overcome it successfully through setting goals and celebrating successes when they occur. By sharing these experiences, you're helping the individual understand that they too can find success despite feeling inadequate or insecure or anxious due to imposter syndrome. Whenever I've had this experience, I guess it makes it real for me, where I feel like someone's putting themselves in my shoes, they're not judging me, and I'm able to then in turn open up more as well. The second one confirms what we all know. It takes a village. It takes a village to help you identify your strengths and weaknesses, and that's where coaches, people managers, and mentors come in, because you can help someone struggling with imposter syndrome to do just that. Imposter syndrome thrives when people compare themselves unfavorably with others, or they over-focus on their weaknesses instead of their strengths. Like right now, I'm over-focusing on the fact that I just mispronounced favorably. Coaches, people managers, and mentors can help individuals identify their strengths and offer encouragement by focusing on building on those areas rather than fixating on the weaknesses. This can be done in some simple, tangible ways. It can be done through regular check-ins with individuals, coffee chats, offering honest feedback on performance, and just celebrating successes when they occur. You don't have to wait until year-end or mid-year or when they've achieved some big, sometimes very hard to achieve goal. It reward or even just letting them know that, hey, you did a good job. It can be consistent. It can be around the clock. And those little, touch points of validation, you'll be amazed at what it can do for someone's confidence. One way to help individuals identify their strengths and combat imposter syndrome is by just encouraging them to recognize and celebrate the small wins, the small successes. And this includes just maybe setting up milestones for themselves. So for example, for me, it might be, I'm able to draft a readiness deck from start to finish. I'm able to lead a certain meeting that maybe I was afraid of all the acronyms or the verbiage, but I was able to do it. Acknowledging those individual accomplishments can help boost morale, but also increase self-confidence, which is especially important for those who have and experience imposter syndrome. This third one requires some action, required some elbow grease, and that is to set goals together. When an individual feels overwhelmed by imposter syndrome, it is really, really difficult for them to set goals or take actionable steps towards overcoming this feeling, especially if they're doing it by themselves. And that's where people managers and other leaders come in. You can encourage setting realistic goals as a way to combat feelings of imposter syndrome, as well as just working together with the individual to create achievable objectives that will lead to success in the long run. People managers can provide that support throughout the process so that individuals know that they have a network. As mentioned earlier in the episode, imposter syndrome does make you feel alone and isolated and as if someone's just waiting for you to mess up. And so knowing that you have a network around you will help you achieve your goals, and they know that there's that support that's there if it's needed. They can knock on someone's door and that person wants their success just as much as they probably want to succeed. But the important things with setting goals, and this is one thing, as someone who's made very lofty goals or not made goals at all in some cases due to struggling with imposter syndrome in the past, setting realistic goals is an incredibly effective way to combat imposter syndrome. And it also helps improve your mental health. But just like we said in the last one, it takes a village. And as a people manager, what you can do is you can help the person break down larger tasks into smaller, achievable objectives. And that way the individual can focus on completing those things separately versus one big thing that just seems so far away. As individual completes each separate goal, they're able to celebrate their successes and build confidence in their abilities, especially if you take the time to actually recognize them for it and even just do a virtual or in-person pat on the back like, hey, I know you were working on being more detail oriented and this is what I heard from your partners. Or I know you were working on your time management skills and this is how I saw you showed up to these many meetings and you were prepared, and just giving them that verbal confirmation that they're making progress. That was all I had for you today. And in conclusion, we learned today that coaches, people managers, and mentors play a vital role in helping those affected by imposter syndrome succeed, because despite those feelings of inadequacy or insecurity, we all want to be seen. Regardless of whether we're actively dealing with imposter syndrome or we've dealt with it in the past, we want to be seen. We want to feel like we're contributing. We want to feel like we have value in the spaces that we occupy. And by actively listening, providing honest feedback, helping identify strengths, and setting achievable goals together, leaders and people managers can help those that they're mentoring have the tools they need to defeat imposter syndrome in the workplace once and for all. It's not gonna happen overnight, but all it takes is just one person connecting with another person, and you can actually see that change. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Chat Time with Ro. I appreciate your support, time, and commitment to self-improvement and to continuous learning. I hope you're feeling inspired to take action yourself, or even just to support someone else to conquer any imposter syndrome feelings that may be holding them back. I understand how hard it can be to tackle these issues on your own, which is why I personally invite you to join the conversation by leaving comments wherever you see this podcast, sharing your honest and transparent feedback, or connecting with me via social media to continue the dialogue. Subscribe to our podcast so that you can stay up to date with the latest episodes, and you can also stay connected by emailing us your thoughts and feedback. Written or verbal notes are totally welcome at RochelleJChong@gmail.com. Your valuable insights will help me create more meaningful content that I hope will inspire and motivate others on their journey of personal development, conquering imposter syndrome throughout the year, and just reaching your career goals and success. I hope to see you on this journey, and I look forward to your feedback.